what I've noticed is that a lot of young brothers are criticized for their behaviors, right? And as I mature and grow, I think the criticism is almost irresponsible because the problem is an absence of example of manhood.
For these young men?
Yeah, and what we're doing now is like we're holding someone to a criteria that they haven't been exposed to and they haven't been groomed to behave in a certain way, right?
Okay.
Is it realistic, like, because we hear all these things about absent men, this and that, but is it realistic for more black boys to be exposed to an example of strong manhood, and what would that look like?
Yeah, I don't know. What kind of models do you want to uphold? There are a lot of black men that are upheld as models of what manhood should be. But if you read their biographies, you don't want to live like these men lived. And this is from your most esteemed preacher to business leaders to whoever. So what kind of model are we trying to uphold? We like somebody who has some kind of a basic sense of self-worth, has some sense of dignity, knows how to be caring towards others. But see, I think a lot of the problems we have with men, black men, is that they don't have a sense of basic trust. Now, this is very interesting. I'm going to say this to some of the people who watch it. You will oftentimes say, I love you to a person far easier than you will ever say, I trust you. Love, for instance, you have a newborn baby. You love the baby. You can't trust the baby. That hasn't been earned yet. That sense of basic trust, what we struggle with throughout our development, is something that a lot of men don't have. It's something that our society doesn't really foment. Because when we talk about trust, it's more than just trusting, say, the parents who raised you or the grandmother who raised you. It's trusting your entire environment. And when we talk about, will this environment be something that I can really grow in, that'll take care of me, that's something that we negotiate throughout all our lives. But if you don't have that basic trust, if it's not restored throughout your life or really nurtured, then it's hard to form any kind of intimate relationships later on. And even when we get older, that can also lead to despair as well. So I think if young black men were learned or grew up in environments where they could trust more, I think that really not completely cure or eliminate, but it'll really kind of curb a lot of the detrimental behaviors that we criticize so much. But but I'm gonna say this: it sounds easier said than done, but establishing that basic trust, I think, is the biggest challenge that young black men have.
And I want to add on to something you said. I want to hear what you think about this. But in regards to trust, I think the trust itself is the foundation before you get to that point. And I think a lot of brothers, men, haven't gotten to the point of trusting themselves because they haven't gotten in the habit of completing tasks.
No. But that trust comes before competency. What can I do? That trust comes before some kind of self-worth. I can accomplish a task. But it all comes from and this is established, by the way. If you read some developmental theories, this is established before you can even talk. I mean, this is pre-verbal. So the environment has a lot to do with this. And unfortunately, the environment, as you already noted, is not the healthiest for a lot of young black men. But it's something that can't. Now some later on get this through surrogate parental figures. Maybe they play sports and that environment helps them to establish it. But that sense of basic trust is something that I think will deal or help to kind of lessen some of those character issues that we think are so prevalent.
Do you think if we had a more stable families, we'll have a better relationship with trust?
No, but see, these are hard conversations because we say presence doesn't mean that somebody's being effective and being able to establish trust. You can have two parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, but that environment could still be toxic because it's not a trustful environment. So
it's just a theory in a sense?
In terms of what the stable family and what it does?
No, the trust vibe, because it's just like, I know we could always like argue more and more in regards to the possibilities within it, but it's like people are people, so when you're around people, there's a high probability something weird.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not something that you get it and it's there forever. It always has to be renegotiated, and that's really the challenge of it. And you have to be open to be trustful, and that's another part too. Some people have been so scarred, I can't trust anybody, and given the environment, you can't argue with that either. So it's not a theory, and I'm not saying it's something that a lot of us will attain. I think it's something we need to know that needs to be established or try to establish with young men, which is very hard.
That's one of the topics I want to touch on later, but it ties into this in regards to men missing out on experiencing love based on previous hurts. Like they turn off, like they really turn off. Because I know most brothers, what they do basically is this: it's like 1 foot out, 1 foot in to protect.
It's very hard.
And it's just like they try to play this "I don't care" thing to protect themselves.
Yeah, but you have to do for self protection because it hurts when that trust is broken.
The thing is, though, is like you miss out on the beauty.
Of course, you do.
Of friendship, relationships, relationship with your children, relationship with your spouse. That's the issue with it.
Yeah.
You know?
No. But you do miss out a lot. But then again, you can't blame them because there've been some men who experienced extreme breaches of trust. Not only with family members or spouses, with themselves. I mean, this is really established. Can I trust myself to accomplish a task? Can I trust myself to be trustful?
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
It's the foundation.
No. It is self. Yes.
Because it's like, I think that as a man, there's certain criteria I have for manhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that you build trust within yourself by completing tasks. Like when you don't complete stuff, bro, like a long-term goal, it really you question yourself and you project that questioning on others.
Definitely.
You didn't demonstrate to yourself that you can be trustworthy to your word.
But that also, okay, so when you're talking about the trust that one needs to build within oneself, you can't separate that from the environment, and somebody needs to recognize that you're completing the task as well. All right?
Acknowledgement.
Yes, all of us need recognition. All right? I don't care who you are, how much, how self-contained you think you are. You need somebody to look at you and say, he can do a good job of what he's doing, or he's reliable. I can call on him to do some simple task. That's why, I mean, if you get somebody who's really broken down, and they do the simplest thing for you, and you tell them, man, that's a good job. Some people will break down in tears over that, right. And you think it's nothing.
But how much stories I told you about at the school? You basically tell a kid like, bro, man, great job.
The tears. They
bro.
Never heard it. There are people out there that don't think, they never had somebody tell them you're good at something. Ever. Childhood, and that's part of the confidence and that development.
That's why the exploitation is so easy and so high too.
And that's where the trust comes in, right? So like you just said, for instance, you and I you all know people who have been in terrible relationships, male or female, whatever the case is, not appreciated, abused, and you sit there and think, what the hell? Why is this person in this relationship, right? Well, what is for some reason that person, no matter how abusive they are, they confirm something for that person that you don't, right? And this person has convinced them for some reason, right? I'm the only one, no matter how bad I treat you, right, who can recognize you for this thing, for good or for bad, right? So recognition is a very powerful thing. And you'll take it from anybody if you've been deprived of it, for good or for bad. So it could be very toxic. That's why it's good, and you know this already. You have children, you have young people you're working with. You have to tell them you're doing a good job at something. And the recognition, I see what you're doing. And it could be nonverbal. Just, I see you doing this thing and I affirm it. Because that's something that gets etched in the mind. And they build themselves off of that pattern, right? To the point where, and that also helps where, I know what healthy recognition is. I know what unhealthy recognition is. I know what recognition is when somebody's trying to exploit me. I know what recognition is when somebody's trying to build me up. And that's communal too. That's what I'm saying. You can have your own sense of self-worth and knowing that I can do this job well, but that is connected to how others have recognized you for doing this thing.